Today I'm going to be sharing exactly why homeschool feels so overwhelming and the mistakes that you may be making that is making it harder than it needs to be. You think you need to be perfect. The perfect educator, the perfect mom, the perfect homemaker, the perfect wife. You need to have the perfect curriculum, the perfectly behaved children, perfect balance between learning and homemaking and family life. You're trying to meet an impossible standard that simply does not exist and that no one actually meets in real life. Most of the homeschool mums that you probably follow over on Instagram or Pinterest or YouTube do not have all of those things worked out either. You believe that consistency means that every day needs to look the same. We all think that really good homeschoolers that we admire follow their homeschool routine day in, day out, really effortlessly and perfectly. We think that successful homeschoolers finish every lesson, that their children behave well, that they sit down and do what they're told when it's time to do their schoolwork, and we think that successful homeschoolers always stay on track. But the reality is that homeschool is not school at home. It is not a classroom setting. It is an extension of real life. And when it comes to homeschooling in a real life setting, babies get sick, toddlers have tantrums, children whinge and whine and misbehave and interrupt multiple times a day. Children have hard days and you will especially have hard days too. That is all a normal process, especially when it comes to homeschooling the early years. So instead, I encourage you to stop focusing on consistency and start strengthening your flexibility muscle. Because consistency is not doing the same thing every day. It's simply returning to what matters over and over again. The next mistake is that you don't believe that you are doing enough, or maybe you know that you are, but you can't help but feel that pressure that other people are judging you for doing so little. I think this is a natural process that us homeschoolers need to go through, because reality is you don't trust yourself yet. You don't trust that books are enough, that play is enough, that living everyday life is educating your child enough. And even though you may know that all these things are true, that children learn through books and play and everyday life, you don't truly believe it at the core of your being. And I do think that this is something that simply needs to be experienced until you have that evidence over time that it was enough. So because you don't trust yet, you end up adding more curriculum, more extracurriculars, more lessons, more schedules, more printables, more of all the wonderful homeschool things. And what's really happening is you are trying to find evidence to prove to yourself that what you're doing is enough. You want to prove that your child is learning, that you're not failing, and that homeschooling is working. But the reality is that most of us homeschool our first child very differently to how we end up homeschooling our third or fourth. Not because our standards drop, but because we have simply gained that deep confidence that what we are doing is enough. Our confidence grows and we learn to trust the process. The next mistake is that you are recreating school at home. Even if you are intentional and you really don't want to bring the classroom into your home, we still end up doing this in little ways. Maybe you have created a dedicated classroom or learning area in your home. That's absolutely fine. But what other things have you brought into the home that you have gained from the public school system? You may be doing little things like testing or tracking everything that your child does and learns. Maybe you follow a really rigid schedule, or you feel like the day was a failure if you didn't finish every single lesson that was planned. Even if you don't do anything formal and you prefer to read books and play and cook together, if your child didn't want to do those things when you wanted to do them, you may consider this as a failure. Now, all of these things are beliefs that we have gained from the public school system. Home education does not work like that. It is impossible to try to fit a school system into a home. And the truth is that homeschool has many other advantages when you learn to let go of these things. You have individual attention. You can be flexible with your lessons, and you can move on to different things if your child isn't interested. You are able to learn through life. You can learn through playing with them and reading books and snuggling on the couch and just having a conversation about what you see in the clouds instead of doing a lesson. Homeschool becomes easier when you let go of those misconceptions and beliefs that you have about how homeschool should look. Really start embracing the beauty of home education and all of the freedom that it brings. All of this is to say that homeschooling is not overwhelming because you are doing it wrong or you are incapable. Homeschool is overwhelming because you have put this pressure and really high expectations on yourself, on your homeschool, and on your children that is never going to be met and doesn't need to be met. You don't need more curriculum. You don't need a stricter schedule. You don't need to put more on your plate. You actually need less pressure. You need more confidence, more flexibility, and a simpler framework to homeschool with ease. So if homeschooling isn't overwhelming because you're doing the wrong things, then what is causing the overwhelm? In the next video, I'm going to share the biggest mistake I see nearly every new homeschooler make. So if you would like to learn what that is, please subscribe and click the bell notification so that you don't miss that video. You can also download my Gentle Week of Homeschooling guide in the description below. And with that, I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.